Welcome, and I hope that you have had a blessed week and it's been really, really good. I've had quite a profound week in terms of the past couple of days. I've just come back from a weekend away, and we spent some time at the coast of South Africa. We were about 3 hours away from where we live, and part of the journey was quite adventurous, very different to other times that we've gone away. One of the things that I noticed in from within my own beingness was we had a couple of detours, and my husband was driving, and we had two of our friends with us, and it was such a different journey that we've taken that for me, it's become a metaphor of how do we navigate through whatever it is that we're moving through. I know that a lot of the time, having things not go the way we expected them to, having an expectation, um, can seem like we're not doing well enough. It can seem like this is not what I asked for, this is not what I signed up for, and yet it can be the best thing. On our return home, the route that we took, I mean, GPS was working so well, yet on Friday there were times we were out of signal. There are parts of South Africa that there isn't any coverage, etc., from a cell phone perspective, but it was part of the. And on Friday, making our way through from Somerset West in Cape Town. So I'm Fazila Bijo. I live in South Africa, and I knew that these couple of days be very much from a perspective of be as present as I can be in the moment. And a lot has been coming through in the past couple of weeks around this. Because if we take away any data, and the data that I refer to is the information, the memories, our beliefs, our judgments, etc. If we take all of that away, what are we left with? It's a sense of the presence of our beingness. And I was having a chat this weekend with a friend, and we looked at the property we had rented out, had a house in front and a view of the sea. If we just moved to the left of that house, we still had a beautiful unobstructed view of the sea. And my awareness was around, we look at these moments of intersection in life, the trees that were there, that have been there for so long. And I was just expressing to her that for us to have intersected at this point in time, to have gathered, there were 7 of us who were at the beach house this weekend celebrating my husband's birthday. It was quite amazing. Sometimes, when we go away with people, it can be very disjointed, and I can promise you it was at times. But one of the things that I started to appreciate is where am I coming from? Where is my presence of being? Where is my awareness and attention going? And it was just to come back into who am I with? What is the level of connection and interaction? And to move from that space. We took a walk down to the seashore, and this particular part of the coastline has got lots of boulders. And when I looked at how the water has sculpted the the rocks. It almost looks like there's evidence of a coral bed having been there and it's now fossilized. And with the pounding surf, it's rubbing away and it's polishing a lot of the big boulders. And you could literally, what I started to become aware of when I looked at the rocks, some of the formations. So being an energy healer, intuitive, empathic healer, I tune into what I could see from an energetic imprint perspective in the rocks, the carvings. And sometimes it looked like the face of a dragon. In some rocks, it looked like, I remember seeing a crocodile, and it felt like a very playful nature and playful energy that was coming through. And it reminded me that everyone who's turned up on that beach will see something different. But as I started to point out, hey guys, there were 4 of us on the beach at that time. I did not see any other people on the beach. This was the other amazing thing with the serenity and the quietness. It's out of holiday, the peak seasons, and just feeling like I had this entire place. It was just us. It was just the people that we were with, and I felt like my nervous system, my energy bodies, everything had just had this calm, serene, peaceful. Even the water, just hearing the waves crashing gently. There were no strong winds. The tide coming in, going out. Just tuning into the pace of nature, and really looking at and becoming aware that in the moment, there's nothing to strive for, there's nothing to reach out for, there's nothing to do but to be. And we definitely had the sense around, if we are to only look forward to taking a break once every couple of months or once a year. So on my husband's birthday, I think it's becoming quite a tradition that we get away with friends, which is amazing. The pace is so different, and the conversations are different, how we interact, because generally we'll see each other for a day, for an hour or two over lunch or something, and we have had some friends coming in from out of town. So it really feels, from last year to this year, the energy has changed for me, just in terms of, even with all the stuff and the turmoil that's going on around the world, there's this energy of the beingness. And I'm still getting words into my experiences, like when I was down on the beach and just observing the water and observing the sun and all of that, taking this in. It's just reminding me more and more, time's going to feel like it's speeding up, because if we're so busy focused on the external world and having these very busy lives, that yes, if we blink, it's going to feel like a couple of months have passed. And yet, in the moment, when there is the space that we can give ourselves, regardless of what we're doing, even it means just giving ourselves that time out. And we don't have to do this at the beach either. That really reminded myself of when I was doing this meditation on the beach this morning. The quietness, the peacefulness, but in that there was this that is available. It already is available, regardless of what's going on around us. And this for me is when today I really I was just connecting in and asking, what is it that I most want to bring through, and what do I want to put forward and also bring in the energy of, and this is that connection of, we are here to create heaven on earth. And if we are to focus on what is the problem, that is going to be distraction and noise. And very importantly, if I was actually reading something, and this brings this point home. There only ever is one problem in the world. Oh, hello, Neville O'Clock. Hi, my friend. There only ever is one problem in the world. What would you believe that would be? So whether you're watching the replay and even being on live here, what would you believe is that one problem? Because that's really the crux of everything. The only problem that ever is a problem is the one that we've defined it as a problem. There is nothing that exists as a problem per se, except what we believe it to be. And that's the thing, is that data, because we are looking at it through the lens of our experiences. You can only know something is a problem if you have experienced that before. And you've experienced it through others, what their beliefs, their judgments, their perceptions are. And so it is something that you've taken on as your own belief, judgment, experience, and it becomes part of the program, and it becomes part of your data. And so if we are to really be able to hold an anchor and help to create heaven on earth, it starts with us. Everything does. But to truly, really, I can't, and putting this into words has been quite something, as this experience and the unfolding of what's been coming about is that letting go, and you would have heard this in some way, shape, or form. Letting go and letting go. There's a key part that's kind of been dropped by the wayside, which is letting go and letting God appear. But it's not as literal as it sounds. Because without the data, without the distortion, when we can put that aside, and for me, that was what this weekend was literally feeling like. I didn't feel like it was a bubble. What I saw and what I felt was, this is available. This is a reality. And that's the thing, is we are creating everything. Perception. We are creating everything from our data. And if I were to look at some of the previous times have gone away, things were misaligned, we've had challenges, etc. And my reactions previously were from a place of suffix. Whereas this weekend, it was, I get to experience and I get to enjoy. So if we were missing a few key ingredients for the breakfast I planned for yesterday. And in the moment, it was, what do we have available right now? And let's just go with that. And everything turned out perfectly. My morning started out with going upstairs. So we didn't get to go down to the seashore, but we had a very good vantage point from being upstairs, where this beautifully laid out, that I got to sit down and have coffee. My husband was with, and the friends that were awake, etc. But just that is having had an expectation of going to watch the sunrise on the beach. It didn't feel like I was being disappointed. In fact, being cozy, watching the sunrise, the clouds had come about, and it just added to the atmosphere. And so I was saying to my husband, yes, we have expectations, and those expectations are often what will lead us down the path of distraction and chaos, etc. We had a friend whose flights were messed up, etc. And so instead of Friday, he came through yesterday. And in that, it was, when there's a stumble, how quickly does it become part of the dance? It's just been really, really expansive every time that I remind myself to come back to, this is the moment, not to have the reaction to what I've previously experienced, and that is the data, the memories, the old experiences, and to become available just to what is currently. And I feel like more and more, when we ourselves are available to that, we're going to have that experience and the richness of it, regardless of what we're doing. I explained this to, I was speaking to a friend of mine, and she works in the corporate environment. And based in terms of some of the things that is part of her daily routine and her job, as we spoke about, I was saying to her, you know, your job is not just to look at data. Your job is, when I look at this data, there are a few components here, but let's just take the end consumer in mind, and she's in retail. She said to me, gave me I know her brief description of her job, etc. And I told her, when you look at data, what you are actually looking at are just behaviors. But what is the outcome? The outcome is, how do I match what my consumer needs are with what we do in the company? And someone out there wants to enjoy, let's say, Coca-Cola or coffee or ice cream. You want to make sure that they, from their perspective of having the human experience, because being in the body allows us to have this amazing physical experience. So don't negate as well where you're at, and don't get so stuck in the day-to-day data of your life that we're missing some of the really richness and the depth, etc. What am I available to? What can I get? What can I access in this time? Because she has the experience she's having right now is being in the corporate world. And so many in the past, you know, if I for myself, I would have flipped around the career, the kind of experiences that I had when I was in the corporate world. I left the corporate world in 2013 for the final time. I'd had some in between in terms of my 22-year career with corporate. And the thing is, I wanted to leave because I knew this was finally, that chapter had closed. And so many people see the corporate world as the wrongness, and it'll be better if I were to go out and be in my own business. I can tell you, if you're employing yourself in your own business, you're the worst boss to have. Been there, done that. And however, if there's something from this perspective of, oh, who are you uniquely? What are you here to do? What are you here to fulfill? When you start to tune into that, what is the expression? How will it unfold? And being guided, being in this inspiration, and that inspiration comes when the data of the memories, the projections, expectations are not in the way. because that does cloud things. That's where we can get caught up in the chaos. Now, don't get me wrong, creation comes out of chaos. We've got to be aware of the inspiration. And the inspiration comes when we are in that neutral space of no polarity, not being triggered. What can I be available to right now? This week has been huge in terms of what I've been experiencing on the level of my awareness, on the level of the things that have been shifting and the expansion and growth that's been happening. I was very much guided to this morning do a meditation on the beach where I connected in with the Mahatma energy and sending that out into the collective as I grounded and I knew these codes were coming in. Just being by the sea, I already felt the activation. So it's been 5 years since I was first aware that a very big part of me being here in South Africa, being born at this time, being in South Africa as the country, etc. This next part has fallen in. I knew that there was this energy that that would be coming in terms of anchoring it, and as it's anchored, to be able to share those codes. But it's not just South Africa. Connecting in with the entire globe, connecting in with Mother Earth, and just being part of that. And that's what this, for me, is creating heaven on earth, is being available, being aware, knowing who we are, and connecting in, but allowing the inspiration that to unfold, divine inspiration, divine wisdom, divine intelligence. Everybody has this ability. It's not unique to anyone. What is unique is what you bring. What is unique is what you are here to express, what you are here, what unfolds through you. And your experiences are not for nothing. If you've ever had an experience which didn't go the way that you expected it to, just look at what was the opportunity and what was the blessing, because there is something there. And when you can really just be available to that, I'm finding that things that have been unresolved from the past, if you really want to get a level of freedom and release, let go and let God appear, because then that trust is not about what do I do. It's not about how do I do this. It really is about creating that space so that you can allow something greater, that part of you to unfold. I've been sitting with this week. We are most afraid because we do not know who we are. And that hit quite deep, because those times of fear, it comes down to not knowing and trusting in the person and knowing who I am, knowing who we are. So fear speaks most to the things that we are uncertain of, but the uncertainty is not trusting the human, and the deepest part of that is not knowing who we are, is about deprogramming all of the constructs, all of the concepts, all of the things we've been told, we've been programmed with. And even that sounds like, at this point in our consciousness, it does sound like we have no level of control, but we do. The best thing about this and what's available right now is, once you become aware of something, You have the choice to change it. And truly speaking, creating this heaven on earth is really not about things not ever going wrong or you never having a challenge. It's just your level of response comes from that place of you being the creator. So let go and let God appear. And just mind yourself, where's my trust at this point? What am I putting my trust in? Is it something external? Or there's a reminder, you are here to be and then do. And that greatness is available. It is so close. It is so there. Take the time to decompress from all of the noise. Take the time to remind yourself, am I reacting from the past? And that's what that data is, the memories of past experiences that we've not released and that are just coming up to say, this energy is still here. This imprint and program is still running. And become aware and become the observer, neutralize, and then choose who you truly, truly desire to be in this moment. Not the greater, who am I and what is my mission and how do I fulfill this? You turning up here is already the best thing this planet, this world has ever seen, this time has ever seen. And so I invite you every day, connect with the you without the noise. Connect with the you that has that level of freedom without the labels, without the judgments, without the beliefs. And it may sound like it's a lot, but if you take time every day and just acknowledge who you truly, what do you feel right now? Be that most real part of you. Connect with that part and start from there. You'll be amazed what will start to surface and emerge for you. And so today has been quite expensive. Some parts of it are so indescribable. I had the honor and the privilege of doing a ceremony on the beach this morning. And I'll say it again, what's available to us is so beautiful right now. It's already here. If each one of us just decided and chose, if we just chose to look at what's appearing, is it true? If it isn't true of you, if it isn't true for you and it's not serving you, you can change it. Currently, I have been navigating through the next levels of my growth and expansion. And so even with what I'm bringing through, it's still anchoring. And so I just am holding the space and honoring that at this point in my journey and where things are at, that I experience and I'm available to what is possible for everyone. So I will leave. I want to close off one point. It was something I spoke to my husband about, and it had to do with expectations. One of the things I said to him was, expectations are about being attached to an outcome that we've predefined. And it's not about never having expectations, but I said to him, what if we redefine it as having standards? And when you communicate what those standards are to others, they have that as a basis for which to be able to either relate or say, this is not something I can meet. And that felt so much more expansive. And so the next time, if you have an expectation, look to see if there's something you're not trusting. The times we have expectations is when we want things to go a certain way. And that is often having this, there's a limitation. In fact, it's telling of a fear of, I want this to go in this direction so that I'm not disappointed. Therein is data. Look at what have you experienced before that you were disappointed around. And it came from having not just an expectation, but it was coming from a place of fear. Now, neutralize it and look at, if I didn't have this fear, what would this give me? How could I be more available and present to what the opportunities are here? Because there's always an opportunity and there's always a blessing in everything. Thank you for joining me in this live, my friend Neville O'Clock and P, and anyone else catching the replay. You're welcome to pop in any comments. But these Sunday lives are where I'm at right now. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next unfolding and the next step. And what do I most want to create and what wants to come through me? And I invite you to look at that every day. What most wants to come through you? What is your unique expression? And if you haven't gotten there yet, what would you love to be doing? What would you enjoy doing? Start from there. It's not complicated. We can complicate it with our human affairs, but it doesn't have to be. So I'm sending lots and lots of love to everyone. Now, I will perhaps put together a reel of the beautiful place that we got to experience this weekend. South Africa is indeed a blessed land. This whole earth is, but the energy this part of the world holds is indeed very special. And I'd love to share that with you guys. So until next time, I wish you a peace beyond understanding and create an amazing week ahead for you. Sending out love to you, each and every one of you.